Get ready to dive deep into Buffalo's vibrant music scene because we're stepping inside the fabulous Flamingo Lounge for the 9th season of local music magic. In the Flamingo Lounge with Rockabilly Greg is more than just a podcast. It's a collection of stories that delves deep into the vibrant musical history of Buffalo and Western New York, creating a living archive where each story adds a unique thread to the overall narrative. This season, we're taking a deep dive into the heart of the music community. Join us for personal conversations with musicians and industry pros, where we celebrate the collective creativity that makes our artists, venues, and events so special. But before we get started, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors, CatsLikeUs.com, Diamond Hawk Golf Course and Pub, and valued supporter Buffalo Ironworks for helping to keep the music alive. This week's guest, singer-instrumentalist Joe Rozler, has been a fixture in the Buffalo music scene for decades. He's active as an entertainer and recording artist in pop, jazz, rock, and less classifiable music. In 2008, Joe was inducted into the Buffalo Music Hall of Fame. In his varied career, Joe has created music for soap operas, video games, and TV commercials, and several locally produced movies. Sang a lead role in chamber opera, written orchestral arrangements, and toured Europe with a heavy metal band. It is my honor to welcome to the Flamingo Lounge, Joe Rozler.
Hello,
Joe.
Greg. Hi there.
Hello, how are you?
Well, I hardly have a voice, but
we can hear you. So,
okay.
And the magic of the studio, right? We'll just pump it right up. So, well, I can't thank you enough for coming down, and
thanks.
Looking forward to having you on for a while. And I will say I'm a fan. I was there in 2008 when you were inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Well, you're a connected guy.
Yes, it was. That was my very first gala that I coordinated, and I didn't know a thing what I was doing. So I hope it was a good night for you. I was kind of thrown into it because the person, Patty Kurtzis, was the person in charge, and early August, she got into a car accident and broke both of her ankles, just one, but she was out, and they're like, okay, kids, you're up. And I had just joined the board, and I'm like, oh, no. So,
Trial by fire.
That's right. And then here we are now. So, but as I mentioned to you off air, I like to always start the podcast with my standard question is, did you have an aha moment when you said, music's what I want to do?
Not an aha. It's more like, and I'm sure this is true for a lot of musicians I know. As early as I remember, I was just in love with music.
Right.
I was probably pre-verbal when I was putting my parents' 78 records on and,
wow.
Playing records all day.
Mm-hmm.
It kept little Joey busy.
Yeah, there you go.
had other older siblings, so probably it's like, oh, if I hear music, then Joe's not making trouble.
Oh, there you go.
Probably, I'm guessing.
Now, like, what type of 78s were those?
I don't want to set the world on fire.
Oh, there you go.
And a whole bunch of that kind of thing.
Yeah, the good old American songbook.
40s into the 50s, I guess. Yeah.
That was good stuff back then, though, right?
Yeah. It was a good groundwork, I suppose.
Yeah. And as I like to say, a lot of those songs came out of Buffalo too. We had a lot of writers back then here in town. So
yeah, back in the golden era, there were more of them.
So now, when did you first start? Because you're a pianist, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, piano.
When did you first start working on the piano, or did you start on a different instrument, or start singing, or how'd you get started?
There was a piano in the house always, so I just poked around on it.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as studying music, started in school. I played French horn in the junior high school band. So
yeah,
and that's where I just got introduced to the idea of like reading music and stuff. And I played French horn through high school and into college. And then once I got into college, I found out there were a lot of people who were a lot better at that instrument than I was. In my little school, it was like, hey, you're horn first, the first one,
Sure.
horn. And then, you get to a place where there's a bigger pool of people, and it's like I'm fourth horn, last chair.
Yeah.
But anytime I took the horn into the practice room, I'd end up playing the piano that was in there. And I thought this is a sign.
Yeah. Now, where'd you go to college?
Fredonia.
Oh, very good. That's me too. So
Oh, okay. We're
I'm a Fredonia alum, so
Yeah.
I grew up in Fredonia too. So
yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's.
Did you know Mary?
I did know Mary. Mary was a year ahead of me in school,
Uh-huh.
and I have to say, I mean, we weren't like best of friends. I knew her because she was a year older, and because back in high school, I mean, you kind of stayed with your class and stuff.
Oh, sure.
But we never had any like classes together or anything. I wasn't doing any kind of music back then, so mine came later in life after I got out of college and everything. But
Neat.
but I was an art major, so I was
Okay.
doing a lot of stuff down there and having a good time. So
Yeah.
hitting the BJs,
Oh, yeah.
hitting the Fountain Grill, seeing the jazz,
When I ended up in Buffalo and going to Nietzsche's, I thought, this is just BJ's transplanted into Allentown.
Yeah.
I just thought of Nietzsche's as the same kind of joint.
Yeah, it had a great vibe because of course that's where all us art majors, we used to hang out there. That was the place because they had the coolest music,
Yeah.
and it just had a great vibe.
Yeah. Hung out with the members of Little Feat in there. They
Oh,
played
no kidding.
they played at the college, and they ended up in the in BJ's. Like, probably it's like, where should we go afterwards? It's like,
Right.
That's where.
Yeah. No, did they like play the college or were they playing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
at the concert hall there.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So I know when I was younger, I mean, I was not allowed to go downtown and after hours or even step close to the college. That was like off limits.
Mhm.
There's things that happen there, especially in the 70s. Because I was on the high school cross country team, and of course our practice area was there at the college with the hill. We used to have to run up that hill where the three men are, and I just keep running, walk down, run up, walk down, run up, just to get you used to hills. And of course there was people that were kind of getting a little curious about some herbs, up there under the three men when we were kids, and
Yeah.
mom didn't want us around all that stuff.
Yeah,
So it's like,
had much herbal tea.
that's right. But anyway, I digress. So now, when you were at Fredonia though, were you a music major or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I switched from French horn to piano, and basically found out, they talk about trial by fire. It's
Mhm.
like, well, okay, I could read French horn music, which was one note at a time. All of a sudden, here's eight or so notes at a time in
Right.
quick succession. Read that. It's like, ooh. But after several decades, I've gotten a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think by the time I'm 100, I'm going to be a good reader.
Oh, there you go. Do you think I ask this question a lot because I can't read and I wish I could. Music, that is, folks. Do you find that reading music is good as compared to just being by ear?
Everybody would like to have a bit of both, I suppose. Yeah. It's I think it's helpful to have literacy about it.
Mhm.
But it's and some people who live by, playing by ear, which I pretty much do really, live by improvisation and just playing by ear. Some people would wrongly think, yeah, well, you learn to read and then that takes away your soul or something. It's like, nah,
Right.
nah.
Mhm.
It's everything feeds everything else.
Right. Just kind of helps connect everything, right? You know where the piece is supposed to go, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And I always say I wish I could read because my buddy and I sing together, and he has to teach me harmonies. He could just pull them out. I mean, he's one of those kind of guys. And
Mhm.
I really wish I could look at the music and go, oh, okay, I'm supposed to go down here. He's going up here.
Mhm.
And it's just one of those, record it for me and I'll listen to it. And
There you go.
once it's in my head, it doesn't leave. So it's kind of that muscle memory rote thing, it's
Mhm.
singing songs, but I couldn't do it. And he always tells me, don't do anything different. That's what he does, So, so you stay where you're at. And so now, when you were in college, were you in any like the jazz ensembles or any of that kind of thing at SUNY Fredonia?
Yeah, the jazz guys were kind of in another camp,
right?
Yeah, there were jazz jocks.
Mm-hmm.
I was more with the rock and rollers, which were non-existent.
Oh, there you go. Now, if you don't mind me asking, like, what time frame were you at Fredonia?
Yeah, I graduated 81, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you just graduated because I started in 82. So
right.
we just had missed each other, but yeah, that was those were some fun times. I mean, I know some of the best times that I had were down there in SUNY Fredonia. But now, were you with any kind of a band with any other folks at school or?
Yeah. It was before college even. It was in the, summer before, where, they had a high school band camp, and that's where I met Armand Petrie.
Okay.
And so we made friends, at the summer music clinic, and then, discovered each other at the college a little later on. It's like, oh, you again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was that stuff.
Yeah.
And we ended up, playing in groups, just playing in the bars around town and stuff, and then ended up, doing some recording projects and things later on. So, yeah, we've always, and Armand's ambition, and his, sending tentacles out everywhere, like, like finding other musicians to work with, to record, and I kind of like, caught some of the spillover from that, so some of the metal people that he recorded and stuff, it's like, say, we need a keyboard player. It's like, oh, I got one for you.
Right.
So that sort of thing happened.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's what ended up taking me to, ultimately to Europe, on several occasions, and, recording and, writing out parts for strings to play, and learning how the pros really played, because I would be up there conducting 1, 2, 3, go, and then I'd see that really they were just looking at the first violin who just went,
right.
The first violinist would just do an upbeat with his bow, and then so I thought, okay, I don't have to count off with these people,
right?
But that was a cool situation because because we one time we were working with this Italian kind of fantasy metal band. Some people called what they did like soundtrack music or something. They were called Rhapsody of Fire. And they did a recording where they got Christopher Lee, the English actor who, had much more of a career than I was aware of at the time.
Right.
He started out, as a Hammer Films actor doing Dracula and stuff, but he did all sorts of things, and he ended up like in, the Lord of the Rings stuff and that.
Right.
But anyway, he was there to narrate and also to do some singing, and they ended up saying, well, Joe's got the best ear here, so he's going to say whether you're in tune or not.
Okay.
And meanwhile, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, on the computer, you can just put him in tune,
Right.
But it was still, Joe was that good. It's like, well, the second syllable was a little late. It's like, oh, let's do another take, And by the end of the day, he was, Christopher Lee was looking at me and going, that guy's worse than Otto Preminger.
Oh,
which I thought, there's my tagline.
There you go. No, that's awesome. So I'm going to get into, because I know you've done some stuff, locally with movies, but I know that's kind of later down the line. So I want to kind of keep in the right time frame here. But so now, like, how did you even get the chance to like go overseas? I mean, it's just, it always just flabbergasts me when everyone's like, oh yeah, we just did this and we did that. It's like, how do these opportunities like present themselves?
Yeah, that was through the band Manowar, which again, Armand recorded them back before they even had the name of the band.
Right.
They went to Fredonia to do some recording because they could get a free recording from student,
sure,
student engineers. So they did one of their first demos there. And, Armand kept in touch with them. And eventually they were doing something where, they were doing some recording in Buffalo and needed a piano player. So I was called in.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, Joey of the band, Joey DeMaio, he kept my number and eventually called me to do some recording at their central New York compound.
Mm-hmm.
And, after doing a bunch of recording with them, it's like, well, we're touring. Why don't you come with us? And,
Oh, cool.
So I certainly didn't engineer a trip to Europe, but they did. And,
Right.
So I was an adjunct
Oh,
playing along with the band.
wow, that's cool. So was that like early 80s then, or?
No, that was later. That was the early part of this century, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome though. I mean, so what's it like to tour? I mean, is it everything that everyone thinks it's cracked up to be, or is it
The guys in the band told me that I was lucky to be at this later end of it, because they said, man, the first time we came over here, we'd be sharing rooms with each other and, eating pizza for breakfast and
Right.
dinner and stuff. So, by the time I was with them, there was proper, money behind it. So
Sure.
we were well taken care of, we traveled with a caterer and everything. So, and if you had to sleep on the bus, it's like, I found that was comfortable,
Mhm.
and to wake up on the bus at the crack of noon, say, and, oh, we're in the new town, and you climb downstairs and hit the button and get a cappuccino. Get an espresso right
Right.
from the machine. So it was a well-equipped bus too.
Wow.
So yeah, that was nice.
Mhm.
I couldn't say I was a road dog or anything.
Right.
Didn't
So
didn't need a lot of that.
that sounds like, all right. Yeah. I want to do that. So I'm going to go. I'm going to segue because I had mentioned that you do some movie soundtracks. You've been doing some stuff with Armand Petrie.
Yeah, that's right.
With my buddy
once
Greg
again.
Lamberson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to
The
high school.
Gregs. Okay.
Yes, the Gregs. I went to high school with Greg, so he's a Fredonian.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, you guys wrote one of my favorite songs of movies, "Fun Bags." But I when Armand was here, I says, "You got to put that on a 45, man." I said, it's gold. It's just
He's a kook.
yeah. So now, how did that happen? That you just started? Oh, let's do some music for some movies.
Yeah. Well, it's like it sounds like so far you could just have Armand come in and talk for me because
Sure.
that again is that situation. But yeah, he ropes me into things.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, but obviously he ropes you in for a good reason, though. Now, is it because you guys collaborate well together, or is it like?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, different people have ideas and maybe don't have a lot, are not sure how to put them across, and so I'm able to translate them, kind of.
Right.
I suppose that's an advantage I have. Is it's like I think what you're going for is something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Now, is like the horror genre that the only kind of film genre you've done, or have you branched out beyond?
Well,
that,
whatever Greg has done is
yeah.
What I did, but that's
yeah, because it's funny because I had Greg down here, and here I'm thinking, oh, he's going to talk about what the music means to the movie and all that, and it didn't seem like he was like, yeah, no, I really don't pay attention to that. I let Armand do that. I'm like, oh, I would think as a director you'd be like, yeah, I want to make the mood. This is what I want here and there, and
yeah, he seems like a quick and dirty kind of guy. I don't know Greg well, but it seems like he's got his eye on the big picture.
Yes,
and there's lots of moving parts, and he's just driving that truck.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's it's like details are for other people that are further down the chain. I'm like making sure this thing gets to the finish line. So.
Yeah, sure. Now, were you involved when they made Killer Rack into a stage musical?
That was all. That no.
Okay.
Quick answer. Yeah. I got to see it.
Right. Yeah. Because my wife, our good buddy is Paul McGinnis. So Paul actually was the one who wrote
Right.
Killer
Yeah.
Mac. So yeah, so
Yeah.
he. I remember when I met Paul, I tried to be cool because I knew he was into horror films, and I said, yeah, Greg Lamerson, and he looked at me. He's like,
Do I
sure,
know
yeah,
him?
it's like, where'd you come up with that name? Like, you must have, and I said, no, we went to school together, it's like, we grew up together. We collected comic books, it's like, he's like, oh, really? So that was kind of a funny thing. So now I'm going to ask, because I just saw you on stage last May at the Sportsman's Park. I think it was Memorial Day, or was that in the summer with the reunion of, no, that was for the 40th anniversary of Sportsman's.
Yeah.
With the Valkyries, with John and Mary and the Valkyries. So
Yes,
how did
indeed,
John and Mary and the Valkyries get started?
It was interesting. I lived in Buffalo, right next door to the long, late lamented home of the Hits on Elmwood. I used to live in the building right next door. So every day I'd get up once again at the crack of noon, walk next door and see what new records came in.
Right.
Get my first picks. And one day there was Mary Ramsey in the store, and she said, "Hey, I'm interested in, I'm living in Buffalo now and interested in, finding some musicians to work with."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay. I didn't quite know what to do with that, what to do with a violist,
Right.
But it was probably like sometime after that I found out, she was doing a duo with John Lombardo, and so they found each other however they did, and then I ended up doing some playing with them and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Because I remember, I think it was 2006, I saw you guys in Sportsman's when they still had the stage along the wall that is now no longer there.
Oh yeah.
It's I
so many different incarnations of that place. I can't even remember all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. But and I know it was pretty interesting to and I forgot. I mean, what a lineup that that the Valkyries had. With Kent Weber, and Rob Lynch, and of course you and John and Mary and
Patrick Kane.
Yeah. And they got Patrick Kane to come back. I know he's not in town anymore. And it's like that was pretty neat. I told my wife, I said, I have to go see that. I mean, that's just
And Kent had made all these noises about, like, I'm retired, I'm not playing anymore, and and then he shows up for that, and he's the star of the show. It's like, Kent.
Yeah. It never leaves you though, does it? I mean, you can try and retire for a while, but I would imagine it pulls you back.
Yeah. It seemed to be that way for Kent last summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is nice to see.
Yeah. No, it is nice to see that, because again, he's a Hall of Famer, and done some great stuff around town. And so now let me ask you, what are you currently working on?
Well, I don't know.
Because I know I'll pop in. I work in the Tri-Main Center, and every now and then it's like, oh, there you are playing piano for the Christmas party or whatever.
Yeah. I'm still a jobber, and in the last, gosh, I guess it's been a number of years now. Gino McManus could say how many exactly, but he started the Black Rock Beatles, and
right.
And at some point in there, I ended up getting recruited as the bass player. So
okay.
So I've been doing the I'm not copying everything Paul does, but you get to play like Paul, you know, which is cool, because it basically means be melodic and play more than you'd expect a bass player to do, you know. So yeah, I've done that thing, the Black Rock Beatles. I play in a group that does weddings and corporate things and stuff. A Party of Nine. That's a big group with horns and stuff, and that runs like a well-oiled machine. That's real nice. So that's cool. A thing I've personally got going is at the end of April, mid-April. It's April 18th specifically. Saturday, April 18th, I'm playing at the West Falls Center for the Arts. Mm-hmm. Going to do a reboot of my Elton John show that we did on a couple times over the years. It's it's a big amount of homework
Right.
to do all the Elton John stuff. But I'll be joined by Rob Lynch and
Mhm.
Nelson Starr and Roger Cormier.
Mhm.
So we're doing a full evening of Elton John music
Oh,
on
that's
April
great.
18th at Westfalls Center.
Now, who does the vocals for that?
I'll be doing all the Elton stuff, and
Oh, wow.
the other guys, I'm cracking the whip and saying, "Come on, you got to sing harmonies here."
Right.
I sure can't do them today.
I actually just met Roger. Actually, I just did a cabaret with his daughter was actually singing, and he was playing in with
Okay.
the band, and it's like, oh, cool, to have it. Other folks that I thought I knew a lot of people around town, but I don't.
Yeah.
There's so many great musicians around here.
Yeah, and Roger's a guy. I mean, like between him and Nelson and me, I think there's like guys that can pick up any number of instruments and
Right.
just be feel fairly fluent on it, and so it's like Nelson's and Roger's ears. I count on that a lot for them,
Right.
with the vocals and stuff, and even Rob's singing some harmonies on this stuff.
Oh,
so.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And speaking of like musicians you can trust, Rob Lynch is just, he's just a being.
Right.
He's capable of doing all kinds of, technically cool stuff, but he's not at all known as a technician. He makes music.
Right. Yeah.
And whatever the situation is, he seems to do the right thing for it. So
Yeah.
he's a good guy to know.
Right. Now, I know he was inducted in the Hall of Fame. Was he in your class?
I think maybe
a
year or so after.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Somewhere around that time. Yeah, it all blends together for me. But now, you mentioned you're doing this again. So when did you start doing this Elton John show?
Oh gosh, it was in the early, maybe it was 2020 or
Okay.
2019-ish.
Right, okay.
I don't know. Did it once, and then a couple years later put it on again.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it lay fallow for a long time. It's like, well, time to get up and, step up and do something unique.
Right. Now, was it just kind of like, hey, gang, let's do Elton John songs? No one's really kind of doing that around town. So
Yeah, I suppose it was, pretty much my idea. Elton John was one of those guys, as when I was a teenager, that music just grabbed me.
Mm-hmm.
It was like between the Beatles and Elton John. That's where I learned piano.
Right.
Learning the things off of the records.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, learning the lyrics to Elton John songs. It's a good thing they got the internet, because I don't know how many of us have sang an Elton John song wrong, because who can understand?
well, the LPs came with the booklets and stuff,
Yeah, there you go.
But still, I mean, I end up scratching my head over what Bernie Taupin wrote. It's like, this doesn't even grammatically make sense.
Right.
But, oh well,
Yeah.
it's and with Elton, it's the same thing with Elton and Paul McCartney too. Lyrics might be kind of slight, but
Mhm.
when you got a nice melody and
Right.
you sing it pretty, it's like, the music can carry it along. You kind of like, it's interesting because there's a lot of kind of music I like to hear, and the lyrics might not be much, and I go, well, you could just imagine it's in some foreign language you don't understand.
Sure.
It's what the voice does.
Yeah. I know for me, because I just have generally a hard time understanding lyrics. It takes me quite a while to look at the lyric sheet and go, oh, that's because to me it all kind of blends together as sound. The lyrics, the music, everything is just kind of this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
the gestalt.
yeah, it's and I know I had a couple people on there like, no, I'm really into lyrics, and I'm like, I said I like the lyrics, but I don't know if it's just the way I listen or how my brain works. My wife can hear a song once and she's got all the lyrics down. I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, or she'll be singing a song she hasn't heard for 30 years. And it's like, And you remember all those lyrics? I've been singing with my buddy for 20 years, and we still need lyric sheets. Because I don't, as much as we've sang them. But I think part of that, though, too, is I think it's a crutch now. It's like just throw the doggone iPads away and just get up there and sing it and, and go for it. But no, I know we ran into each other. What was it? Sportsman's not too long ago.
Yeah,
it seems like
sure.
Sportsman's is, and what kind of brought you to say, hey, I've been listening to your show, man. I want to come down. I was kind of touched, to be honest with you, to say, wow, Joe wants to come down and be on the show. So
I thought you brought it up, Greg.
I usually do because I'm shameless when it comes to that kind of stuff. But no, let me ask you, how did you find out about the podcast? Was Armand?
Yeah, maybe it was when maybe it was when he was on.
Yeah, I know. I was messaging with Kim, and she's like, "Oh my God, he hasn't stopped talking about it." He's got such great stories, but which kind of brings me back. So I always love to hear the stories because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start doing the podcast was because you guys have done such great stuff, and there's really great backstories to a lot of the stuff, and I know a lot of times people don't want to talk about that, or it's not ready for prime time or whatever. But I've got to imagine there's some really cool stories, kind of like the story that you talked about going over to Europe, and I'd love to hear some of that kind of stuff, that because that's just.
You should ask me. I could have done some homework here.
There you go.
Yeah. Probably like, here's a story that has nothing to do with those things, but, but just going back to early experiences with music, which is where you started. My mom was a church organist. In fact, we lived right next to the church. It was actually the house that she grew up in, and then she grew up, got married and stuff, and they had a different place, my mom and dad, and then eventually, at some point early in my life, they moved back to that house next to the church, and so when she was growing up there, her father, my maternal grandfather, was the organist, and then she took it over, and and little Joey's job was I got paid a $5 check every month to be the boy that went over on Sundays 15 minutes before the mass and flip the switch to turn on the bell. Clang, clang.
Yeah.
Mass will happen in 15 minutes.
That's right.
And so I was the bell boy, but it would have been cooler if I had to climb up there and grab the rope, But no, this is just flip a little light switch,
Right.
But because I lived right next to the church, I could borrow the key to the choir loft from my mom and go over and play the organ and play Inagata Vita on the church organ, and so that was the church music connection. When my mom was ready to retire, she said, what we need is a nice young, energetic person. Mom, I got to go. See ya. Whoops. I hear someone calling me.
Yeah.
I can't get up to play the 6:30 mass on Sundays now.
Yeah. Well, you're always waking up at noon, so it's you do the midnight mass, right? So. No, I mean, looking at some of those church organs, though, I mean, gosh, they look like a fighter jet. I mean, there's so much.
Yeah, you get in the cockpit and you got all the controls around you. Yeah,
of course, your feet, you're doing, you've got everything working.
Yeah, and I can play piano pretty well. Guitar and bass guitar, I'm all right with. That pipe organ, man, especially getting the pedals going, that's more like wrestling with an octopus.
Yeah,
that's something I have a lot of. I just look at that instrument like, ooh, danger.
Right. Now, have you ever had a chance to play the Mighty Wurlitzer over at the Riv?
No,
No?
I went to hear Jazzbeards playing there, and of course, at one point,
Yeah.
the organ rises up, and David's at the bench and playing it. That was a fun thing to see.
Yeah, that's a beast. I mean, that organ, holy moly.
Yeah, and a theater organ. It sounds to me like that record, that Frank Zappa, Overnight Sensation. There's a song 50/50, and George Duke is playing an organ solo, and it sure sounds like a theater organ. I never got the the scuttlebutt from that, but it sounds like sounds like something like the Mighty Wurlitzer or something like, where certain settings you'd have would, you have a note playing da, and then you've also got bells going, along with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, never played one of the theater organs with all the extra literal bells and whistles. Never had that.
Well, I guess too. I guess I heard somewhere where they don't just let anybody get in front of that instrument and play it. You have to be like authorized or whatever to sit in the cockpit, if you will.
Yeah.
And but it's just so cool to. We went to see my wife and I went to see a tribute band for a Depeche Mode, a tribute band called Strange Love there about a year ago. And one of the guys in the band could actually play it. So he actually played the Wurlitzer, as part of the show, which was pretty cool. I was kind of surprised that they let him get in the cockpit, but he knew what he was doing, man. I like that's I look at that just because there's there's keys on it, but wow. I mean,
yeah. Well, with as MIDI instruments got more and more developed, through the 80s, and like you could add this sound and that sound, and you could control different modules with one keyboard and stuff, and it became apparent that, like, okay, the digital world is catching up with what pipe organs have been doing for centuries.
Sure. Yeah, I know. And then I'll see like some, modern bands, and the keyboardist will have 3-4, sets of keys up there, all different kinds of configurations, and top and bottom, and I don't know how you keep all that stuff.
Those were the days of backaches. Yeah, I'm so glad to not be doing that.
Right.
Yeah, when I need more than one sound, I'm busy programming that keyboard to have a sector where I can get different sounds in different areas of the keyboard, because I want to travel light.
I don't blame you. That's I always say, the poor drummer, right? first guy in and the last guy out with all that equipment.
Yeah, and as a keyboardist, that was me. A lot of times, carrying all that stuff in. So
now, do you have a specific style type of keyboard that's like a brand or something that like, this is what I like? Because for example, I'm a Gretsch guy on the guitar. I really like the sound of that Gretsch guitar. That's does it for me. Is there a
keyboards seem, it's like they don't, there might be some that have a sound that's a little better than others or something, but for the most part, all the sounds are kind of generic, and it's like, this signifies a piano, this signifies a string section, whatever. So it's hard to feel, for me, it's hard to feel sentimental about brands of keyboards, unless somebody wants to give me one as an endorsee, then I'll say all sorts of good things about it.
Okay, you hear that, kids?
Yeah, but like you're saying, like a Gretsch. After I finally bought a Gretsch guitar, now I've got a Fender and a couple Gibsons, and I have the Gretsch. So it's like, now I can stop buying guitars, I figured.
Oh, you never stop buying them.
They're piling up. But yeah, there's a lot more. There's just a lot more fascination, or I have a lot more fascination with the guitar, and how what you do with your fingers touching the strings makes a big difference in how it sounds, and keyboards, not so much. I mean, there's having a workable touch, having a good musical touch on the keyboard, but beyond that, it's the sound.
Right.
It's the sound that's in there,
Well, and I know, going back to the Hall of Fame, when when we would pick our scholarship, we always had Jack Yellen Songwriter Scholarship winner, and the prize was to go to GCR Audio and record a song. And I can't remember the artist, but she's like, I want a Norah Jones piano sound, and I think Kenny Kaufman was in the studio and kind of had that. Here's a Norah Jones sound. Oh, we want a Floyd Kramer. Oh, there's a Floyd Kramer sound.
There you go.
And,
sure.
It's like, so there's kind of styles, I guess, with the piano that you can, that
Oh,
are
yeah.
kind of attributed. Of course, when Jerry Lee Lewis song comes on, because, he's got that kind of, distinctive sound. So I think you
Yeah.
can get,
Yeah.
some different things out of the keyboard. But like you said, but not like
Yeah.
like the
It's like
guitar.
my Korg or my Roland, or it's like, there's, they're all toasters pretty much.
Yeah, because I had a guy one time tell me, he says, really, Greg, guitars are all the same too. He says, it's just, what pedal you put them into. And I'm like, I don't buy that. Semi-hollow sounds different than a hollow body and a solid body and all that. And
I kind of think that, like different guitars are like different cars.
Mhm.
It's like you'll be able to get from point A to point B with any car, and it's just how the ride feels.
right. Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. It's like, I enjoy playing this guitar. I enjoy driving this vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like my buddy plays Taylor, and then of course there's the Martin versus the Taylor guys. It's like, okay, but I guess it's just how it feels in your hands, and I know I've seen him go play what nope, yeah,
Mhm.
which is wild, because it's like you said, to me they all look the same,
Sure.
but they're the same brand, same model, right? But no, this one sounds a little bit better for what, who knows what reason.
Yeah.
The wood, or who knows, I don't know, but it's just stuff that fascinates me, though, that I want to, I keep trying to learn all this stuff, because it just, with everybody with the gear, and I got this sound and I got that sound, and as you can probably tell, I'm a big fan of Brian Setzer, Stray Cats, and
There you go.
he used to I've seen him a bunch of times in concert, and he would drape his rig with a bandana so no one could see how he plugged everything in, because that was his secret sauce, right? So you don't want to give away the secret sauce. And I'd get on these boards, and everyone's like, I want to know how he gets that sound. That sound is so him. But
Mhm.
I guess everybody kind of holds on to that. And now I also don't, speaking of Black Rock Beatles, you're not part of that group that does the rooftop deal, are you?
That is that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that
the Black
is
Rock Beatles. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. We've done that for, I think, going on 10 years.
Well, yeah.
Playing the
I know that's
rooftop
got to be quite the big deal.
The first year was so big, and it was unplanned. I mean, they didn't realize how many people were
Yeah.
going to come. Now, I don't know about this for sure, but what I heard was that that the folks that put on the thing got a bill from the city.
Oh,
It's like, well, we didn't know there was going to be, like, I don't know how many thousand of people, and
right.
blocking all the city streets. So we had to put staff. We had to get couple paramedics and some cops to be on hand just in
Right.
case anything. And that, you didn't tell us ahead of time. So here's the bill for the
Wow.
for us staffing this surprise event you put on.
Right.
So, and it was sometime after that. It's like, okay, we're going to make it a ticketed thing, and we're going to fence it off so it just doesn't,
Yeah.
because it was surprisingly, like, just out of control in terms of numbers
Hmm.
the first couple times.
Yeah. But that was such an iconic thing for the Beatles, when they did that whole rooftop thing. That
Yeah, with the neighbors complaining. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, we're trying to work in our office over here. Will
Yeah.
you stop that noise?
the noise from the Beatles, that's kind of crazy, but
Them again.
yeah.
Wait, aren't they done yet?
And then of course you're playing with my neighbor Frank Rosani.
Oh, yeah.
So he lives right down the street from here. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
I kind of had, as I was driving here, I thought, this is kind of the neighborhood. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, Frank's a good guy. I know, and the funny thing is, I never knew he was my neighbor, because pretty private here on the street, and
Sure.
everyone pretty much keeps to themselves. Plus, he's about 5-6 doors down, and until I got a dog and would walk by. And I remember one day I'm walking by and I see all these great. You can see I got all this stuff on the wall, so I was looking for stuff to decorate the walls, and there was this box of Guitar Player magazine. I'm like, oh, I'm going to bring that home. And my wife's like, no, you're not bringing any more magazines home. You've got enough stuff. Just leave it. And and then with the Hall of Fame, we were doing a fundraiser at the Sportsman's, and Frank was part of it. And he looked at me and he says, are you the white picket fence guy on Moulton? I said, yeah. He says, I'm the Marigold guy. I says, get out of here. So we had lived, probably lived here for 10 years and never knew each other. We're on the same street. So that was kind of neat. And of course, Jerry Livingston would, Frank would take care of his bass, and I'd see Jerry out in front of his house every now and then walking the dog, and God rest his soul. And
that's something I gotta say. The night of the Hall of Fame induction, played a little song with Jerry on bass and with Ted Reinhardt on drums, and that's one that I'm just gonna keep close to my heart, because both of those guys are just so full of heart and beautiful people, and of course they've moved on from this plane.
Yes, yeah. I know. And I think we're close as we record this. I think to the anniversary of when Ted passed. So
oh man, like that just destroyed me.
Yeah, it's tough stuff. And then it reminds me. I think you one year I had asked Mary if she would sing the memorial song, and I think she had you accompany her, and I can't remember if it was John, but during the gala, a couple years after you were inducted.
Yes, John and Mary and I. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, she's like, would you mind if those guys came on? I'm like, no. I said that was great. So I was so excited.
That's right. Yeah,
because. And I again, I didn't really know Mary all that well at that point, and kind of was like, she was very gracious, and I'm like, that's really nice it brought a real nice touch to the. Again, that was a few years after I kind of figured out what I was doing with the show, but and now it's moved on to some other folks, and they're doing a great job with it, and continuing to keep that going. So, but but that whole thing was why I started collecting records, because I said, you know what, I want to collect a record of everybody who's made one, who's inducted. That was my first goal. If you're inducted, I want to at least get one recording that you've been on, and then which brings me to, because I just did a live recording with Dick Bowerly. Oh, and okay. Was it you, or maybe I'm getting people confused here that. Of playing with Dick, so
Dick and I haven't we haven't done any work together.
Okay, it all runs together because everyone's doing so much stuff together. But now, and I'm looking here, and I mentioned in your bio that you created music for soap operas.
Well, yeah, it wasn't an actual. It was a soap opera in quotes.
Okay,
and there were actually two. This was related to Hallwall's Art Center. There was I'm not going to be able to name her name, Sarah something. I can't name her name now. I didn't look it up. But anyway, this woman did a residency at Hallwall's and got local actors to take part. And she basically made an episode of a pretend soap opera.
Okay.
Maybe sort of along the lines of, Cindy Sherman, it's like, okay, I'm going to dress up like this, and you're going to see a picture of me, and you're going to think it's a picture of fill in the blank.
Right.
So anyway, I was suggested as somebody who could do the music for the soap opera, do the theme and whatever. And so I ended up doing that, and that was kind of fun. It was years after that I became aware of the 60s and 70s show Dark Shadows, and listening to the music on Dark Shadows, but and actually like looking at a CD of all the music cues from Dark Shadows, and it was just like, ethereal celeste, theremin slide, it's like these oddball names, it's like, but the cues I did for this soap opera in Buffalo, I had titles for it like "You Bastard," or like, because I just figured like somebody, if it's a soap opera, there's going to be a moment like that, and this is the music for that,
right?
Yeah, and then that same artist got in touch with me a year or so later, I suppose, in some other city. She was doing another soap opera production, and I did music for that. So I was like, wow, this was practice.
Right. That's good practice. Now, how did you get into video game music? Because I heard that's kind of like where it's at right now.
And this again, it's a bit on the outskirts of it. This was actually when I had done some work years ago for Fisher Price, for like toys and things.
Right.
It's like, the little thing you press the button, sings a little tune, that, it's like I did a couple of those kind of things. And one of them was a kid's video game, which of course I hate the idea of. It's like, let those little kids run around outside and don't sit them in front of a computer, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But, they're going to pay me to make the music, so. But it was kind of fun.
Right.
And I liked making music for kids because basically, so you can stress about what is this music right? Is this right for the target audience? And,
and
if you're working for kids, I mean, if you make something that just makes you laugh, you go, well, this is right then.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun, just doing something, doing kids songs like dee 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 dee, doing like a surf version of London Bridge, with the hand claps and whatever. And it's like anytime it would be like, it's like, oh, that's cute, then it's right.
Right. Yeah. Well, I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and she just loves that stuff. I mean, she watches, videos and stuff on YouTube, but it's all musical style. And then when she turns it off, she'll start singing. She'll start getting her guitar out, and her drums, whatever. And she's on the way, So I'm kind of happy that she's.
Yeah. As long as we're on our way out, and it's good to know that there's something coming up.
Oh yeah. She when she comes over here, she's like, "Grampy, can I go downstairs and listen to music with you?" I'm like, "Yes, you can." What do you?
I'm so glad you asked.
And one day I says, "Well, I've got some Sesame Street." She says, "No, I want to listen to music." Like, yes.
Don't give me that kid stuff.
I know. Yeah, none of that kid stuff. I'm like, and recently we had her down. I got the CD of, she's into this K-pop, the K-pop Demon Hunters. She was on the circle on the floor there, my Stray Cats logo. She's, "Grampy, this is my dance circle," and she was just.
There you go.
Singing at the top of her lungs and do all the words. And I'm like, yeah, it's so cool. To see young kids getting into, I mean, I'm certainly not a K-pop guy, but you know what? If that's the kind of music you like, why would I say no?
Yeah.
It's
well, yeah. And there's lots of things. It's easy as codger like myself to go like this, this new stuff is just crap. But, I look back at the stuff I loved as a kid, and that was crap too. It was my crap though.
Exactly.
It's close to me because I was at that impressionable age when it came up, but I can look at it objectively and go, there's nothing all that special about that.
Yeah. But
when some people would say, it's like, nobody's writing music like the Beatles anymore. It's like, well, true. And when the Beatles were writing their stuff, people were going, Lennon, McCartney, are they any Rodgers and Hammerstein? It's like, no, not at all.
Right.
Nothing near it.
Yeah.
It's like, the Beatles hardly knew the names of the chords they were playing. So compare them to Cole Porter, and you could say, yeah, everything's going downhill,
Right.
But it's, it's just different. And so the new stuff out there that I'm not relating to, there's still something to it. And I end up, learning to play some of that stuff with the, with the band that keeps on the cutting edge of what's new and what people want to hear. And the process of learning it makes you understand, oh, there's craft in this, even if it doesn't push my buttons in an emotional way or something. It's like, there's, this was put together by people who knew what they were doing, so.
Yeah. That's and then last, so TV commercials. So how did you get into the TV commercial?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Alan Baumgartner at what is now called GCR, that was Trackmaster Audio. And gosh, between Alan and me, we did just loads and loads and loads. And he was the, I think said something earlier about, like Armin being an idea guy and then me fleshing it out. Like Alan's thing was he would come up with very clever words and a melody. He'd have the whole damn thing. For me, it was just being the arranger pretty much.
Sure.
And, it's like, okay, we'll have a couple trumpets, a couple saxes, we'll bring in 6 string players and multiple track them to make it sound like an orchestra, that kind of thing. So that was a great experience. And for a long time, we knocked out all sorts of things. And Alan would call me up. It's like, I got something for you to sing on. And I, this is, noon one day, come in or in the morning or something, you got a slot. And I have to like, what? I have to like scream like Robert Plant on this, whatever he came up with is like, that's what you got to sing. It's like, holy,
Yeah.
So you just find a way.
Right. Now, was that all local commercials or was it national?
Every once in a while, there'd be something national, like there was a TV commercial that probably aired during like, Saturday morning cartoons for Pop Rocks.
Okay.
The carbonated candies.
I remember those.
Yeah, we did a really nifty Pop Rocks jingle. And the then, they were the Goo Goo Dolls. They brought, Robbie and Johnny came in to just like do some punk like shouting, like,
okay.
It's too long ago to remember what, we go, pop, pop, pop,
Yeah.
It's like, let's get those ratty guys in here to, they'll have a good voice for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We weren't allowed to have those with Coca-Cola because, the rumor was that, the carbonation would make the Pop Rocks go and it'd get in your throat and all this, all this crazy stuff. But no, was there a commercial locally that like people would remember like a jingle that
I'm glad you mentioned it. It's not playing anymore. Actually, like one of the first ones I did still plays, and that's Custom Carpet Centers.
Okay.
That was like one of the first things I sang on way back when, and that still plays. Like, but we did. I got called to do an interesting one, and it was maybe about 10 years ago. So Blue Cross Blue Shield. I don't know if anybody remembers it. Healthy changes everything. Yeah. Healthy changes everything. That was pretty much mine. A guy in an agency, Tom, whose last name I'm not. I should have tried to find names. But anyway, he came up. He had a tune, and it was like basically a punk tune. Mm-hmm. He had a sideline as playing in a punk band, so he had this healthy. It's like, we want to make this, into something commercial, and so it ended up being this, kind of, contemporary dance track, and we got Lance Diamond, and Lance came over one evening at my house. And he brought his tea with lemon. He said, I got to keep my voice in shape. And he just like, it was just so charming to hang with this guy. Before we started recording, we just sat at the kitchen table and, and he regaled me with stories. It's like, he's such a charmer.
Yeah.
And because I had, I think I had heard somewhere, it's like, he's not a real quick study on learning things. So it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to have him put on the headphones and, here's what you sing. Rather, we're sitting at the kitchen table and I'm strumming the guitar and we're going over the song that way.
Right.
And that's a great memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Working with Lance.
So were you We Love Our Town? Was that you?
No. Yeah.
Because I know they still play that.
Yeah. Yeah. That one I don't know about. Yeah. Did a whole bunch of them, but that was like, say, it was decades ago.
Right.
Once in a blue moon, I'll still do a little something like that, but
Right.
It's more like just, it's not an everyday thing. And I kind of like it that way. It feels nicer just to like occasionally dip into it.
Yeah. Well, Joe, as I mentioned before we started, the hour goes fast.
Kaboom.
We're at the top of the hour. Yeah. And I can't thank you enough for chatting with me and talking music and telling your stories.
Talking Fredonia.
Yeah. I love to bring the Fredonia connection back into the show. And that's where my roots are. And they'll always be there,
Yeah,
I love Buffalo. I've lived in Buffalo longer than I lived in Fredonia, but I love Fredonia. It was a great spot.
Yeah, and those college years were dear to me. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there was some good stuff, but great music scene back then too. It's all those homemade posters, and boy, just I wish I was more aware of it when I was there. I was just too busy getting out of the house and being a college student, if you get my drift, and hitting the bars. But I look back. But anyhow,
thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So again, thanks for coming down, and for everyone who's joined us, we thank you for tuning in. As always, you can find the podcast where you get your podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Audible, thebuffalohive.com, YouTube, and of course, you can always find the podcast at rockabillygreg.com, where it's all about the music. And I'll have a bio on Joe and some links to where you can find out where he's playing, and maybe some websites and social media and all that good kind of stuff, so you can kind of figure out where he's doing, and maybe some recordings, put some stuff on there. I know you did a record with John and Mary and the Valkyries, which I have to get my hands on because I can't find a copy of it, but I digress. That's on my hit list. But again, Joe, thanks again for coming down.
Thank you.
And for everyone who's turned in, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. In the Flamingo Lounge is made possible in part by CatsLikeUs.com, your online store for authentic vintage clothing and accessories. Buffalo Ironworks, an intimate live music venue and bar located in the Cobblestone District in downtown Buffalo. And by Diamond Hawk Golf Course and Pub, Western New York's premier golf course, restaurant, and banquet facility. At the Hawk, the bar is hopping year-round with live music every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and some other nights, too. Tune in for a new episode every Saturday at 9 a.m. EST at rockabillygreg.com, where it's all about the music. Bark, Zoe, bark. Good girl.